Okay, so please let me know if my screen is visible. I'll set the context and hand it over to the speaker, Sharon.
Yeah, the streaming is also live on started.
Guys, please let me know if you guys can see my screen. Cool. So, welcome everyone to our today's session at Multi Cloud for You. We have Sharon Summer as our guest speaker, and she'll be talking through the journey, about how to, leverage power platforms to get the entire enterprise value. So before we start the session, I'll quickly introduce Sharon and what we do at Multi Cloud for you, and set the ground rules for the session, and then hand it over to Sharon. So as you see that, one of the very famous quotes by Satya Nadella, who mentioned that, uh, you're seen through, the server, the mobile, and the, web, the entire era of, how the enterprise has gone through a change. So one of the, major things is that when you make an investment in a technology, you not just want to get the, benefits of the technology. Basically, you want to make it user centric, customer centric, and get the entire enterprise value out of it. So, in today's session, Sharon will take us through the journey on how to build overall value of the enterprise, and she'll discuss about Office 365 and how to add in collaboration, automation, and how to make it more user-centric, and basically empower through self-service and collaboration with people, and integrate the Office 365 platform, and bring value faster to the customer. And basically in crux, it should be like, how to think like a change enterprise. So this is about the session that we are going to do today. Before we move ahead with the session, I just want to spend a minute and tell you guys why we are conducting these type of sessions, and what exactly do we do. So, as you all know that, we are not trainers or, professional speakers. We are kind of, battle-tested technologists and PhDs and innovators and engineers who have come together and formed up this community and this, platform where we enable all the seasoned technology practitioners and, industry leaders to share their enterprise experiences within the, technologist community. We also, focus on building organizational and social trust within the, technology community. And one of our main motivations is to foster, the capacity for innovation, which is very much required, especially during these, COVID times. And lastly, we want to reciprocate what we have learned in the industry and, over the years, and lower entry barriers for the new entrants, while providing new technical insights to seasoned technologists to, constantly remain relevant in their profession. So we have in past, many of you would be aware that we have, in past taken sessions on multi-cloud strategy, where we discussed, Kubernetes, Dockers, hybrid clouds, the overall enterprise cloud migration strategy, and all. We've taken sessions on data science where we have, spoken about different research topics on optimization and, enterprise data science frameworks and all. We do conduct sessions on blockchain and extreme engineering as well. So yeah, in Crux, we are covering these four major pillars, and we have specialists and technologists and industry leaders from, all these areas. And today, I am happy to announce that, we have with us Sharon Summer, who is a Microsoft Cloud MVP, and she is the CEO for Business Cloud Integration. And Sharon has multi decades of experience in Microsoft technology stack, and she is a product evangelist, SharePoint consultant, and basically an expert in her field. About me, I am a product evangelist and a researcher in mathematical optimization. I have spent around 14 years of, time in the IT industry, and my main field of research and publication area is, data science, within which I work in optimization. Uh, so that's it. I just want to, quickly set the ground rules for the session. It's my request that uh, type all your questions in the chat box, and we'll read and go through all the questions and all the queries, and we'll not skip any query, and we'll answer every single query towards the end of the session. But I would say that please be on mute, and let the speaker decide if she wants to take up a question in between the session. So that's it. Over to Sharon. Sharon, it's all yours. I'll make you the presenter, and you can share your screen. Hey Sharon, we can see your screen. You can get started. Hey Sharon, I'm not sure if you are speaking on mute. I'd request you to get started.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. So you can see my screen. I'm just going to get started. So we're going to talk about the Power Platform and how we can leverage the whole 365 suite. Lovely to meet you all. I run my own consultancy, Business Cloud Integration, where we've got an Office-based platform called 365. And I'm also a business applications MVP for Microsoft. 365. I come from a SharePoint deep level knowledge experience. I've been doing SharePoint for more years than I care to admit. Please do feel free to reach out and connect with me. I think that I believe in so strongly that I'm actually writing a book. But what do I mean by that? I mean, how can we leverage the investment in Office 365? And how can we attract and retain staff as well as to take these steps? And we just need to be able to leverage that tool set And to do that, we want to get to value faster. To be clear, I'm talking about business value, real efficiency and change enterprise model. So this can apply if you're a tiniest startup company or if you're a massive enterprise, because the Office 365 platform is the same for both size companies. It's an enterprise tool available to everybody.
Hey Sharon, we are losing you in between while you're speaking.
Enterprise,
The
oh,
voice is cracking a little bit.
apologies.
Uh,
Um,
your
do you want me to
voice
slow down a
is
little?
cracking a bit in between.
Okay. Challenges are that an enterprise is not agile enough to move at speed. Sorry, I just heard a noise in my headset and I'm not quite sure if it's gone off.
Yeah, I think we are still losing your voice, Sharon.
Correct.
Can you still hear me?
I think we are still losing your voice in between.
Not so clear.
Maybe you can disconnect your Bluetooth mic or
Yep.
speak straight on the laptop speaker.
Is that any better? You can't really tell until I speak a lot, can you?
Yeah, much better. Much better now.
Okay,
Yes.
let's get rid of the headset. Okay, so looking back at the diagram then. So what we're looking at is a model enterprise that isn't changing is vastly being replaced by one that is. You see this all over the place. A lot of these juggernauts of large enterprise businesses are not able to apply a process are having their lunch eaten for them, really productive, innovative startups. So what we want to do is we want to be able to teach an organization the size of an enterprise or the size of a startup to adopt this methodology, the tools. What is the enterprise tooling that we have available? Now, specifically, I'm going to talk about Microsoft 365 around the Office tools, but this extends to the whole organization. So starting with Office 365, and the Office products plus all of the security provided on the identity devices, app, email, and document layers that are provided within the Office 365 platform. Toolset.
You're still losing your voice, I guess.
Oh dear. Do you need me to talk slower, or I'm not quite sure what else we can do?
I'm not
Maybe you
sure if
can.
there is a network issue on your side or something. We keep losing in between. There are few pauses, blank pauses.
It might interrupt, but if you can rejoin, I don't know, can help.
Leave the link. Okay, for some reason the link's not working. Just one moment. Sorry. Okay, let me turn off my audio here.
Guys, allow us a minute or two, while Sharon fixes that problem at her end.
Oops. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry. Just disconnecting my audio on the one device. Okay, hopefully you can see the slide again and you can hear me now.
Yep.
Yes,
Much
loud
better.
and clear.
Brilliant. Okay. Sorry?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can see your slide and we can hear you.
Okay. So this is weird looking at two different devices. Never mind. So what I was basically saying is that we all have the same enterprise tool set available to us. And once we've got the Office 365 as in the Office products, we then need to add on the collaboration tools. And these are all available to you within the product. So by collaboration, we mean the OneDrive piece where we're synchronizing files, the shared documents within SharePoint, so we have a full document management layer, and also then the Teams chat layer, which I'm sure everybody's become more familiar with during the last couple of months. And we'll go into Teams in a little bit more depth as we go through. So then we need to add on a layer of automation to make the tooling as powerful as it is. And this is really where I specialize. So there's no point in having the ability to store documents and chat and collaborate without then having some business process automation around that. So the tool set for the business process automation comes from the Power Platform layer. So traditionally, Power BI, Power Apps, and Power Automate, with the addition now of the Power Virtual Agent, which is just going general release, and in itself is a really powerful tool for the right use case. Underneath the Power Platform, we've got the Power Data Connectors, the AI Builder, which is effectively a bundled set of machine learning and Microsoft AI tooling made specifically available through the Power Apps interface and the Power Automate interface too. And then we have the Common Data Service. So where we think of a single organization's tenant, we now have a document management layer, an automation layer, and with the Common Data Service, a complete data layer. Then the ability to connect out to other data sources. It makes the tool extremely powerful. Then we make the whole thing a little bit user-centric. So the idea behind collaboration is that everything I see is around what I do, but it's easy to connect with other people that I am working with. So the whole power of Office 365 is that it doesn't matter if there's 1, 10, or 50,000 people in the organization. To every user, it is from their own usage point of view that they see, collaborate, and have automated access to that data. So understanding it from that point of view allows you to think about how you could provide value to an organization that has groups of people, teams working together, files and tasks that need to be managed between users, and the whole messaging and communication side of the puzzle internally in an organization. So the enterprise level of this platform is unprecedented. So there's nothing really out there that matches how big the tool set is and how available it is to every size of business. So regardless of whether you're a small business or a massive enterprise, out of the box, Office 365 has these sizings available to you. Every single tenant in SharePoint is able to have a 25 terabyte site collection. Now, how much space you get when you buy those licenses to be able to accommodate that varies based on the license that you purchase, but the capacity of the product is to be able to enable a 25 terabyte site collection. And this 15 gig maximum file size is now on its way up this last week to 100 gig. And so this thing is changing constantly. On top of that, the amount of documents that you can have in a tenant, and I used to work this by how many site collections you can have in a tenant, which was 500,000, but this is a much bigger number. So on any level, no matter what size license you buy, the capacity of an Office 365 tenant is a very large number of documents that can be shared within there. And the fact that the whole thing keeps moving. So the roadmap is a constant cadence of change. So we are now looking, and within some large enterprises, this too can present some problems because they are not built at the speed for being able to leverage that change constantly. So we are now finding some organizations that need to keep older versions of software are having to leverage other systems while they build the ability to keep up with the cadence of change of the software. So in a large enterprise where you've previously needed, we've all been there, IE6 has been in place for the last decade because there's a particular app that needs it, then we have to get these organizations to self-serve, to get themselves into a situation where they're able to leverage the new tools that are coming along that's going to be demanded by the users that are using those platforms. So now we're finding a lot of organizations reverting to virtual desktops to be able to support older versions of functionality while allowing the rest of the day-to-day work to be able to be done in the newer platforms. And it really is forcing the enterprise to keep up in the same way that smaller organizations will easily flex and be able to have that momentum. And of course, there's a lot of organizations that have already massively adopted the Office 365 platform, and with these organizations specifically, the Power Platform. So every one of these logos on here is massively into automation with either Power Apps, Power Automate, or Power BI. Some of them you'll have seen on the Microsoft site that are actively proponents, like Pepsi, of some of the applications where the people are going into stores, taking pictures of the shelves, and we can assess, yes, that's the correct placement of our product. And a lot of this is done through the Power Platform, AI, and some pretty decent connectivity. And again, wouldn't be possible without months and months of development and native app development for mobile. So the whole bleed across the technology stack and across the automation and availability within an organization of the tool set is making Office 365 one of the most productive tool sets out there. So how does this fit back into the picture of my Change Enterprise framework? So once we've understood the enterprise tool set available to us, that is the Microsoft 365, we then need to look at the other aspects of the circle. And it's no surprise that in the middle of the circle here, I have this big community ring as well. And community is massively important in an enterprise to be able to bring on new users, new power users of the tool set. But let's quickly just go around the edge. So people and collaboration requirements. Every organization may fundamentally be the same in terms of customers and products, etc. But the collaboration requirements within an organization can be very, very different. So it's important to understand what your people need from collaboration and to define those requirements. As it is with any tool set, you're not able to release that value until you can understand clearly what is going to give us that business value. And that's really the next step, is to focus on value. Now, the way that we're teaching organizations to do this is to continue to develop. So to get out of the habit of 2-year projects where we're developing something, and by the time we get to the end of it, what we thought we were going to get at the start and what we actually got at the end are somehow massively different. That we picked a feature set and nobody's really using that feature set. So the continuous development pattern is one that looks quarter by quarter at what do we need, what are we addressing within value for the organization this quarter, what are we developing, what are we moving on, and what are we iterating in an agile way to start bringing more value to that organization. And of course, we want to integrate, always integrate. What I just described to you with the power of Office 365 and that user-centric view is the leveraging the power of the Microsoft Graph. Everything within the platform is super integrated. And I'll go into that in a bit more as I go through those power tools with you. On top of that, we must empower self-service. And by that, I don't just mean putting forms and applications into the organization that are available to the end user to use. What I mean is allowing a community to develop that is both demanding and self-developing on top of the core tool set to enable that organization to change at the right speed. If we follow the patterns of the past and we leave it to IT to continually develop the organization, you're going to find that a small department in a large machine cannot keep up with the speed of change that we need. The power behind the Power Platform tooling is that IT can make available to you approved data sets, approved methods of accessing those data sets, and approved methods of automation. And the business themselves can put forward what we call citizen developers or champions, power users, to start using that tooling to get more done at speed. So empowering that tools and automation available, usually through a centralized center of excellence, and building a community in the organization to continue to develop and support the development of that tooling is fundamental. And the key here is continuous change. So what are the tool sets that we need to be able to see this in an organization? By far, the biggest one that I want to talk to you about today is Microsoft Teams. And let's not get too involved in going down the route of how do I quickly become a Teams professional developer. When we look at what Microsoft Teams truly is and how that can start bringing value to an organization, we've not only got the on-the-surface tooling, so we've got chat, we're internally. So in my organization, we don't email each other at all anymore. If we want to discuss something with somebody in the team, there is either a direct chat to them or, more importantly, a channel where we can talk about that topic and the whole team can get involved in that discussion. So this is an absolute accelerator for collaboration, plus it's also organizing the content at the same time. Now, this in itself is creating mini communities or teams that are looking specifically at smaller pieces of functionality, and we want to show and be able to leverage that functionality within the Microsoft Teams platform. So what I want to show you today is how we build that business process integration with Teams. So what we're looking for is a single pane of glass experience. So the power users or the developers are looking at giving the functionality, but for the end users, we want them to just be looking at a single pane of glass for that functionality. And really, we want to remove the visibility of the technology altogether. So they're not concerned with how things are done, and therefore requirements that come to you are, I would like this to work in this way, rather than solutionized requirements around, I want a thing that does this. So we're trying to remove that visibility of the technology to the end user. We're also then trying to leverage the Office 365 license. So within a standard E3, there's an awful lot of value to be had in the tool set, and there is a way to leverage that value without buying premium connectors and without building on top of that. That said, those premium connectors unlock the next level of functionality and productivity that we can get in an organization, and on a case-by-case basis will definitely be worth it. And again, once we start leveraging for one app or for one business application, business flow, it's always difficult to justify a license increase. But if we're looking across an organization that's going to have 25, 50, 250 apps, that cost soon goes away. So we have to look at the value long term within the tools. And we want to move the organization just from contributing with each other. So the old adage of a Excel spreadsheet that is emailed around to 20 people who each make a change, and then some poor guy in the middle gets to bring all those changes together. We're moving from contribution to collaboration. Everybody's got access to the same document, everybody's making the changes, and the system knows when those changes have been made and can automate on top of that. So what we're looking for is empowering those individual teams. So let me show you some solutions that I'm talking about and how this actually happens in practice. So one of the things that we've looked at with the contract team was the two-part process. It turns out that contract creation, when you're looking at something that needs to be a complex document that has certain areas of that document to be filled in, but we need to make sure that we're picking the correct document, we're filling in the correct spaces, and that it's all done at speed for the end user, can seem like quite an overwhelming task. So to be able to create that, I've just got a short video here, just literally showing you one of the solutions. So we're within Microsoft Teams, and here in this team, we've got several tabs. So in this first tab, we've got contract details. Now, if I add the contract details, so this is a brand new contract, and I appreciate that's not really very well zoomed in, take my word for it. So we're adding a new item here where we're saying this was for a presentation I gave for CogX for Microsoft. So we're looking at a demo document that we want to create. We're just filling in some sample data. Contact name, I'll put mine because I can remember that. And we've picked the type of document. So we're going to pick a statement of work, which is a complex document. I'm using the out-of-the-box Microsoft Word statement of work. And as you can see here, all this user has done is added those contract details. And then without knowing what's going on in the background, they can just move to the next tab, which they can go to SharePoint and see within the SharePoint tab, or we've surfaced here next to it called completed contracts. We should be able to see, if I just hit that refresh, my new document has been created. So what happened in the background, there it is, took a couple of refreshes for it to appear. And as far as that end user is concerned, they put some information into a list. They came here, they see a document, and you can see here's my name. And if I just search for the CogX, you can see that CogX appeared at the bottom of the page in the signatory column. So there were fields within that document that we populated just from that SharePoint list. Now, under the hood, all that's going on here is a SharePoint list, a document library with the templates in, a document library that has the documents that we created, and a Power Automate to be able to take that solution, to take those details and to pass it into the correct document and create that for us. So as far as the end user was concerned, no idea how that happens, but they have that functionality available to them. If we then move on and we can imagine that that contract has gone out for signing, and as anybody knows, once a document is created doesn't mean it's going to end up like that. What we then found with this contract team is that the PDF signed document that they get back at the end of the day can contain vastly different document information. So this one shows you how we are adding some tabs into the Microsoft team to put the Power App directly into the Microsoft Team environment. So here we are just adding in the signed contract reader application into this contracts team. And what this does is it has an AI model built for it. So we've trained this AI model with some demo data. And as far as the end user is concerned, they will then go to the, you won't see anything in signed contracts. I'm just adding in the correct, adding in the correct document libraries so that we can see this happen. So we're looking for the signed contract data. So at this time, we're going from a PDF document that we're scanning in to a signed contract data list. Okay, so if we now go to the signed contract reader and we point it at a document that's come in with the Analyze button, this is not a pretty app by any means. This is just to show you the vanilla functionality of what's available to you. The application reads and analyzes that data. And because we put some fields on the screen, what that does, and you can see I'm just going to analyze a different document, is it's populating those fields with the data that I asked for from that model. And then with a single press of the save button, we can then save that data down to the signed contracts list. Now, what that allows us to do is on top of that process, we can then look at automation for when things are starting to expire. We could have pulled out an expiry date from that document. So just to show you a little bit about how that AI builder is done, and again, it's not massively complex. I have a video out there showing you how to do both of these solutions within 20 minutes. So what's happened here is, and I'm not sure if you can see it on that screen, so I've given it 6 documents to be able to train the model to understand what a document looks like. And what's happened is, let's get a close up, I've used a summary sheet. So every one of the documents that we create puts this summary sheet on the front. And what the AI builder does for the PDF recognition is it finds a pair, so a label and a value, and it suggests to you these are some fields that you can pull out in those types of documents. So as long as all of your scanned in documents have a summary sheet on the front, it will know how to interpret what each field value is, and it will be able to put that in a list of data for you. Moving on then, there's all kinds of apps that we can put into the Microsoft Teams environment or in fact use on the mobile phone. So the Power Platform is responsive, so all Power Apps are responsive on a mobile phone out of the box. But there is some jiggery pokery to be done if you want it to be truly responsive. So it always looks nice on the phone, but you'll find there are some design constraints on the actual platform. So as you saw there when we were within Teams, the app didn't look quite as well spaced or as professional as it could have done. So there is a little bit of movement needed to make that as responsive as we'd like it to be. But out of the box, this is a relatively out of the box app. So what we've done here is we've created a COVID-19 reporting app. So the use case here was we have a client who's in the mental health space, and they have multiple sites across multiple countries. And every single site every day is feeding them in a separate Excel document the number of infections and their requirement and their current stock for their PPE equipment on site. So every day somebody is collating all of that from hundreds of sites. So what we did is a very simple Power App where we can click the button to submit our infections. It knows where we are because we're the logged in user. So immediately it knows where we are. It would automatically fill in the date. And I can very quickly say, there are X number of infected patients, recovered patients, and unfortunate deaths. And I hit the submit button and my job is done in literally 2 seconds. So I didn't have to find the document, I didn't have to complete it, I didn't have to submit it. And in the back end, because all of this is getting written to the Common Data Service, we now have a database of all of the information collected. We can point to that with Power BI and we can have a look at that data. What that does is that gives us a view on the number of infections, the number of recoveries and deaths, but not just that. We could now be looking live as management or as any kind of operational team at the number of sites that have filled in the data today, the number that haven't, etc. And this as a data set can be continually refreshed easily with a Power Automate that allows you at the end of the on create event, allows you to refresh your data set. So again, within the Microsoft Teams interface, we can easily add a tab that allows us to see our live performance data. In this case, I've chosen a COVID one because it's relevant, but that could be any business, large or small, enterprise or not, data shown to you very quickly and live. So one of the other things that I did with another organization that I thought was worth showing you was a learning solution. And again, for this one, we're using more of the tool set within Office 365. So within Office 365, you get the ability to use Microsoft Stream for videos, and you can use Forms too. So within this solution, we did a really simple SharePoint list that links you out to each of the videos within the learning path. So imagine this is a sales team and they have a learning path where they need to learn about leads and opportunities. And also, as you can see here in my rather crude Power BI diagram, we have a leaderboard. So somebody's got a bigger pile of books than somebody else because they've done more learning in the organization. So we're scoring the learning as well. And really briefly, just to show you how we've done that. So when you jump to the learning that you need to do from that list in the learning path, you'll be presented with a video on the screen. And you can see on the right-hand side here, we have this this interactivity screen. So what you can do at any point during the video, you can set it so that it brings up a questionnaire. So you could have one of these, 2 of these, 10 of these within a particular video stream that allow you to test the knowledge of the user at that point. So the user can only fill in the questionnaire once. They will fill in their answers, their understanding, and then they'll be able to continue to the video and it will carry on. Or in this case, I just have one test at the end and it's going to complete the video. What then happens is you jump back to the landing page and you would have noticed that although it's not obvious on this particular diagram, that the score on my score on the leaderboard would have gone up and my pile of books would have extended. A really simple solution. But if you were to take this and tailor it to an organization, massively useful. One of the things that we're doing with this particular solution is not just individual team department learning, but also then linking that to a master list so that we can see what organizational learning you've had as a whole and how that can be measured. And again, that's just leveraging the Microsoft Forms, Microsoft Stream, and Power Automate, and really simply puts that solution together. I think this is another one that I've got out on a YouTube video if you want to see that actually done. So the whole thing with Power Apps is to leverage quickly, is to be able to use the tool set to build applications easily and quickly. And an even faster start to that is the amount of templates we now have within the platform. So there's all kinds of stuff in here, from the most common things we do around expenses, room booking, budget tracking, etc. And very quickly and easily, you can go in, create one of these apps, and deploy it to your teams. The meeting capture one, I have to say, is now at version 2 and is an excellent application. And what that is it looks at your calendar, it shows you the meetings you've got on today, you can attend a meeting, you can make notes and actions, it will post that to a planner for you, and it really is integrating that whole meeting experience within a tab on Teams. It's really extremely good integration. But again, if there is an application that's very close to what you need here, you just install one of these apps and then you play with it. So take a template and then adapt it to what you're looking for. So one of the things that I've been doing for the community is I'm putting together what we call a Power Apps lookbook, because there are so many different ways that a Canvas app in particular can be used as a blank canvas. We can create what we want in there. We can connect to multiple data sources. We can build the automation directly into the Power App. We can affect different types of forms for different permissions within an organization, and we can build in logic, or we can call out to Power Automate. This, for example, is an app that was developed by a chap called Eduardo, who I met over in the States. And Eduardo, I believe, is in Mexico. And he has built this solution, which is it's quite a nice looking solution. But the most important thing about this for me is that he's replaced 8 hours a day for 3 analysts in just an hour and a half. So my challenge to any organization is, as you're growing, try not to get to the point where we need to replace those hours, but start with the mindset of how can we do everything faster? How can we start with just the hour and a half solution rather than doing it the hard way and then kind of coming backwards? So that is an example of a change enterprise. So it's not just connecting to Office 365. So while we have the ability to talk to the document store or the common data service, we also have connectors to many applications. And you can see here some of the logos you might recognize, but there are so many connectors. I believe there's over 300 now that will connect you to everything from Trello to, I think Snapfish is even in there, MailChimp. There's an awful lot in here to connect out to. Box, Dropbox, all of the common ones on the left-hand side here, Dynamics, SQL Server, or any of the Azure services are available to you with Power Apps connectors. On top of that, we have people like me. So there are an awful lot of us out there who are trying to create a community around the Power Platform. We now have 1 million+ active community members, and this was actually the end of last year. So there's an awful lot more people involved in this community, in this movement, as we move on. And what we're looking to do is to help each other. So to get away from that proprietary, it's mine, it's in my enterprise, we're helping everybody to share, to build a community that you can not only look to for learning, but ask questions directly. There's a huge amount of us on Twitter and on LinkedIn that will answer any questions that anybody in your organization is stuck on or wants help to get them over a milestone to then move on. Obviously, we're not going to sit and develop solutions for you, well, unless you want to pay, obviously, but we are there to help you if you get stuck, or if you're struggling to move forward, or if you want some advice on videos and material to go and learn from. That's what we as a community are there for. And just to show you, it's not just low code. It's not just there for end users. Oh, let me go back to that one because it's kind of cool. So one of my developers has a real thing for Pac-Man. So what he's done here with an extremely complex maths, I have to admit, is he's developed a completely working Pac-Man game within Power Apps. So the dots are real, the action is real. This is me on a mouse playing it and being recorded. The ghosts change color, we can chase them. Sorry? Okay, not sure I heard that. And this is something that was a work of art that he performed. And a lot of us helped him to get this all up and running. We have one ghost in the middle that's not quite working yet, but we're about to launch this onto the community so you can have this app in your organization and see how all of this is done. So it's not just for low code development. Oops. So let's have a think about what we started the conversation around. How do we get to value faster? So what I need you to do is to think like a change enterprise. To have that, how do I solve this, and how do I continue to solve this mentality? How can I leverage in the organization more automation, and how can I empower the people in the organization to help themselves? We want to leverage that Microsoft Teams integration. Teams is effectively a gift and one that's been so valuable. We've gone from 20 million daily users before the COVID to now 75 million daily users of Microsoft Teams. We've gone from 1 in 50 people working from home to 1 in 3. It's amazing how many people are on these platforms and need to be able to leverage them to work faster and to get more done. So we want to be of a mindset to continue to develop processes, not to think, well, that one's done, let's put it down, we're not going back to that for 3 years, but to keep listening to your users and give them a voice to be able to discuss in a community how things can develop. And ultimately get to value faster, help speed up that change and get that business value that we all desperately need. And that's the end of me talking. And I'm starting to run out of voice, so it's a good thing. So I've tried to pick up speed so that we don't go over time, because I do appreciate all of your time. Do we have any questions?
Guys, I
Okay,
think this
and this is
can answer.
Anil. Yeah, this is Anil. Just a question. You showed the Power Apps. You can create apps with less code or no code, and that's compatible with the mobile apps. So, is that by default it deploy, or you can deploy responsive app, or is a kind of a mobile app or like a native app?
So the apps that you can create, so that very simple one that I showed you, the COVID one, that's just using a phone template. So that will work on a phone and it will look kind of strange and large in a Microsoft Teams environment or within embedded in a page. So there are 2 templates out of the box that work nicely, which is the phone template and the tablet, which is larger and on its side, that you would use for most instances. To be truly responsive, then you can use percentages in the CSS behind it. It does take a little bit of doing. Again, many videos out there, tutorials showing you how to do that.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Sorry, was that a question? I didn't quite hear that.
Hey Sharon, I think there is a question from Charanjit Bhatia on the chat window. He's asking, is it possible to have any program application developed for offices for COVID hot desk booking for roaming users maintaining and tracking physical separation?
Wow, that's a great question. So let's break that down. Okay, firstly, there is a couple of applications that have been developed. If you go to the Power Apps community, I can't remember what the website is called, but it's the Power Apps community blog. There is a section in there of templates that people have already done. And I think there's 4 new ones that have come out for COVID, but I think they're mostly around PPE booking and that kind of stuff. So it would be great if somebody already has a pattern for this, but let's have a think. So what would we need? An application for COVID hot desk booking. So hot desk booking has been around for quite some time. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's already a template or a pattern in there for that. But if we were to think about how we would break it down, essentially that is an interface to be able to book it. So that's a simple add form, and the ability to then submit that to a data source, and for that data source to then be able to control the availability of that to be able to be booked. So as an application, that's a relatively light pattern. You could probably knock that app up within a day. And what else? For roaming users to maintain and track their physical separation. If you wanted to see then, maybe if we had a map of the office that we could show on the Power App, that there was nobody on. So if we've got 5 desks separated by very little space and we wanted to make sure that we were sitting in seat 1, 3, or 5 because we don't want to sit right next to somebody else, then you could potentially change the app to not be able to book certain spaces, or at least show people that are booking that space which ones are currently booked. Again, I don't think that would be a great deal of effort. So you'd have to look at, are you looking for this to be daily, hourly? How robust do you want that to be? But within an organization, that could definitely be done.
Sharon, is she there?
Can we integrate Teams with other large enterprise systems like ServiceNow? You certainly can, yes. So as long as there is a connector for it. So if you go to, so we're looking at two things. So Teams itself, on the tabs at the top, you can add in a connector to those services that have already published or made available through Microsoft their particular applications. So, for example, you can add in a Power App, or you can add in, I'm trying to think of something that I've added in recently, a Power BI page, a tab at the top. But if there isn't a direct connector for it, you can actually go to a web address. So you can bring in a page of any kind. So if you have your system available through a browser, you could easily show that within that particular Teams app. Ideally, you'd be using single sign-on, and it would automatically sign on without the need to sign on as a different user. Again, you could, under the hood, look at Power Automate connectors or Power Apps connectors to see if there's anything you want to do as an interface on top of those service layers. So it may be that you want to show just today's outstanding tasks on an application that is task management under the hood. So if that is looking at, my support requests that are currently active, then we would be able to use a middle layer to do that query to bring it back effectively to a Power App that you could embed in a team. Yes. What's this one about?
Sharon, Nishit here. Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm really excited about the Power Flow also, because I've seen a couple of videos over YouTube, and Power Flow is a really powerful platform in which you can automate things. So could you suggest somewhere I can learn more about Power Flow, or like?
Certainly. Yep. So there's obviously my YouTube channel, which if you scan that QR code, you'll see. Now, the reason to go to my YouTube channel is because in my recommended playlists, you'll see people that I rate. So in terms of people out there that I think will give you a great start, for Power Apps, it's going to be Shane Young, okay? And his list is on my YouTube channel. And again, if you follow me, you'll get notifications of those. Shane Young, yep.
Okay.
And again, he's worth following on Twitter as well. So on Twitter, he will ask, "I'm about to do a video. What would you like it to be about?" So he's great, and he usually is maybe two videos a month. So there's a lot to catch up on from Shane. For the flow side of things, the Power Automate, you want to look up John Levesque, and I would say probably Serge Luca, who we also call Dr. Flow.
Can you spell the last name, Joe?
John. Gosh, L-E. Can I put it in the chat?
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not how you would think it would be. This guy. Serge and Shane Youngs. Okay, let's get to some more questions. Can we create a timesheet app where users can book their project hours, leave any project trainings, calculate the total hours for the week, and then mail the details to them? You don't want much. Mail the details to the manager. Yes, is the answer to all of those things. So, Tusha, are you available to come off mic and chat to me about this?
Yeah, hi Sharon.
Hi. Okay. What is the basis for this timesheet app? Do we already have the data in, say, Microsoft Project or Excel somewhere?
Yeah. See, I'm a user of. I do create Power Apps.
Okay.
I'm basically from DXC Technology. So I'm into the AI solutions as an
Yep.
architect. So what my intention was that there is a timesheet which we fill every week and share our hours to our manager.
Okay.
Now, basically, I want to automate that process and come up with a Power App. Uh, Maybe I can integrate it with SharePoint or an Excel sheet where we punch in our hours and then try to calculate if someone is taking a leave for that particular day or any time during the week. We calculate all those hours at the end of the week, that is 5 days, and then do a summation and send it through the Outlook mail connector to the manager.
Okay, one thing that I would say to you is let's build that new mentality into there. So, first of all, a Power App that shows us this week. So we're going to put in how many hours we put on projects. So either I need a data connection to go and get the list of projects. So that could be in SharePoint, or that could be a collection behind the app. And so I'm going to book all of the hours to the project that I've done, and I'm then going to hit submit. So what that's going to do is go back and write to a SharePoint list, for example, to make it so that you don't have to have premium connectors. So we're going to write into the SharePoint list each of those entries. What I would then do, rather than having to do the pain of calculating that for the week to be able to put it in an email, which is the difficult part of this, what I would do is I would point Power BI to the data source. I would create a view for the manager, for the people in his team, and I would then put that Power BI on a tab in Teams so that they can literally keep a live view on it. So then once I've hit save back down to the SharePoint list, I would then have a Power Automate on the SharePoint list to go and update the data source so that it's completely live and fresh for that manager to be able to see those data entries.
Fair enough. Okay. Thank you so much.
Again, you're bringing the users to the data rather than sending the data to the users. It's much easier that way.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. What's next? How do you integrate help desk tool with AI chatbots using MS Teams? Will there be any additional licenses required? Okay, so the AI builder that we use, for example, on that Power Automate where we were fetching the data back from the contract, that does have an extra license layer. So there is an AI builder license that you can go and have a look at. I'm not going to quote prices because it will be out of date the moment this goes live, I promise you. Chatbots are now actually chatbots have just been launched within Power Apps, and I've not had much of a play with that yet. But the Power Virtual Agent side of things, yes, you do need a license for that, but that is a really sweet product. So if you are looking for something where you have a Q&A, so actually I'm going to do a video shortly on one that I built for a scorecard. So I'm asking a bunch of questions. Do you do this? Do you do that? How many of these do you have? During that a virtual agent conversation, and then at the end I'm going to redirect you to a recommendation web page, and I'm also going to build a document in the background that tells you the recommendations, your score, and what you should do next. So in that way you can do quite a lot with those virtual agents. And I know a lot of people get stuck with the virtual agents thinking that it's just about customer support or IT support. So there's a lot more that we can do with that. But yes, there would be additional licensing required. If you've got a specific on there, just to finish that off, can we do it within Microsoft Teams? Again, a Power Virtual Agent can be embedded in a SharePoint page. And as every team comes with a SharePoint site, we could pick a page and embed it. So we could very easily make that available and make it look really pretty around it as well. That's how I would do that right now. Great, it should say context switching cost. Okay. Yes, Shane Young is a great guy. I do agree, and a good friend of mine. Share links in chat. Again, I've shared the names. Yes, 169 plus videos. Good call. Okay. All right. I think we're at the end of the comments so far. But again, so scan the thing, come and follow me. You'll get to know when I put new content out there. If there's anything specifically that you want to see, it's always an ask from people like myself. I'm always interested in presenting an end-to-end business solution. So if you have something, a problem that you want to solve that I can solve in a 20-minute video, I'll quite happily make that for you. And I'll show you everything from creating the SharePoint list and the types of columns that you need, and then how to patch that data back to that list. Because for me, you can't move on with just a small piece of the puzzle. It's worth showing you the whole thing and allowing you to follow along and get that done for yourself. Everyone, if you can share your email. Okay, cool. Again, follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn. But importantly, reach out, ask questions. If you are stuck on anything, I'd love to help you learn.
Sharon, I think there's one more question.
Yep. Integrate Salesforce, Einstein Analytics, and oh my goodness. Okay, Salesforce, there is a connector for, and Salesforce connects to Power BI. MuleSoft, I don't know. I haven't used it. I'm just trying to think of where I would go. So I would search for if you go to, let me think, I think it's make.powerapps.com. If you go here to go to Power Apps itself, and you don't necessarily have to sign in, I don't think, you should be able to see a page on there called Connectors. And the same for Power Automate. If you go to Power Automate /Connectors, because what that will show you is everything that's available with a search box, so you can see the types of connectors that are there. But don't forget, and it does require a premium license, but if there isn't a connector to a service that you want to connect to, you can create your own. So, for example, we did a project with a university in Cambridge. There is only one, but I'm not going to tell you who it is, where we developed an API. So specifically with universities, they have young people for GDPR content. We have to be very, very careful with their details. So we developed an API that would access the data, and only the API could access the data. To be able to leverage that within Power Automate and Power Apps, we then needed a connector to that API. So we created a custom connector and we had Microsoft publish that. So there's always a HTTP custom connector that you can make yourself. Again, it's a premium license now. It never used to be, but it is now, to be able to create that connector. But if you have an endpoint, then you should be able to automate anything. Okay, I'm aware that we're going a little over time, but I'm so grateful that you're all still here.
I think, Sharon, this is really insightful. And we do have, an announcement for the certificate for all the participants. So I'll share the screen once, there are no more questions.
Let me stop.
All right. I think there are no more questions. And thanks, Sharon. This was really insightful. By the way, I also subscribe to your YouTube channel. And I think everything like even the Power Platform community, the Pac-Man game that you showed, even the dynamic data refresh, all these things are very new and fresh for most of us, and this is like really insightful. And thanks for spending time and sharing all these insights.
You're more than welcome. I mean, my user group is officially based in Cambridge in the UK, but we're now global. So if anybody wants to join, please do. You're more than welcome.
Yeah.
We have an event, I think, on the 7th of July where we've got some really good speakers. So be fun.
Very nice. We'll look forward to that.
All right. I will leave the call and let you all get on. Thank you so much.
Sure. Sure. So before we end the session, I would like everyone to, just generate their certificates if you guys are interested. Let me share my screen on how to generate the certificate. So you need to type in fifthir.com. That's www numeric 5 fifthir.com. I am presenting this right now on my screen. And here, you can key in your details your first name, last name, and accept the terms and conditions and move on. And the code for today's session, I'll just announce the code 3 times for the benefit of everyone. It's A as in Australia, B as in Bermuda, numeric 1, U for umbrella, K for Kolkata. ABIUK. So I'll just repeat that once again. Uh, A as in Australia, B as in Bermuda, numeric 1, U for umbrella, and K for Kolkata. So you'll get a certificate, you'll get an email from which you can download a certificate, and that will be, that has been signed by Sharon Summer, and you can treat it as a, usable certificate on your LinkedIn and on all your social media.
Bhaskar, is it uppercase or lowercase?
Everything is in uppercase. And for those interested, in joining our multi-cloud for you community, you can also join our Telegram channel, which is also available on fifthir.com. You can just, click the link and join the Telegram channel. Yeah, Charanjit, so the code, I'll just repeat that again. A as in Australia, B as in Bermuda, numeric 1, U for umbrella, K for Kolkata. That's AB1 UK.
Bhaskar, would that come on email or it would be generated right now?
Well, you'll get an email, and there'll be a download certificate link in the email. It's
Okay.
an automated email. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And if there are no more questions, we are good to end the session.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Bhaskar.
Thanks, Sharon, for all the insights that we shared today.
Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, Bhaskar.
Sure. Thank you. Bye.